You are listening to the Bold Dreams Held Loosely podcast hosted by myself, Taryn Watts, and my colleague and dear friend, Michelle. We believe that the quality of the conversations you're inside of shapes the quality of your life. Whether that's a conversation you're having with others, listening in on, or contemplating within yourself, what you think about and where you direct your energy matters. At the Mind Rebel Academy, we train and support change makers to step into their life's work as world-class coaches and leaders. After mentoring hundreds of people from around the world, what we've come to realize is that the most extraordinary coaches and leaders have one thing in common, and this is that they are wildly devoted to living deeply examined lives. After all, you can only go as deep with another as you're willing to go within yourself. And this podcast is just that. Michelle and I, two coaches and leaders, having raw, honest, very human conversations that are expanding our minds, opening us up to new possibilities, and keeping us steadfastly committed and focused to walking our path towards our deepest yearnings and greatest visions. And our intention is that these conversations do the same for you. So get comfy and settle in. And as always, you're invited to take what's for you and gently leave the rest. Enjoy.
Do you want to pull a card?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a deck near you?
I've got my favorite deck.
Okay, I've got my deck. Oh, should we both pull a card from each of our decks? Okay.
Yes, we shall.
I'm in the mood for this.
Me too.
Did you know that I might have told you this before, but you have actually given me permission to pull cards more often?
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, this is going to sound like a really strange thing, but sometimes I worry, like I feel a desire to pull a card often. And, like I feel a desire to pull a card, to pull more cards. I want to pull cards about this. I want to pull cards about that. And there's a part of me that judges myself as trying to like grasp too much. And so I think it's wrong that I want to pull so many cards. And you just very offhandedly was like, oh yeah, it's like, you know, pull a card every morning, pull a card for this, pull a card for that. And I was like, why am I denying myself pulling a card?
Brings me joy.
Yeah. Isn't it a silly thing to restrict?
Yeah. The silly things we do.
Yeah.
What card did you get?
My initial instinct is I don't like this card. But that's always interesting. I got Maple Tree Generosity.
Okay, so what's the reaction about the generosity?
The reaction is that I'm in this place where I feel like I have nothing to give. And so I'm associating generosity with giving, and that makes and I know I'm making up a story about this, and there's probably a beautiful thing about generosity here, but right now it occurs to me as like, oh, it's going to tell me I have to give more, and that makes me feel so tired.
I feel like we should like name our cards, and then circle back to this at the end.
Okay.
And just see if the cards make any more sense.
I love it. Do you want to just look at our cards and then read it later? Or do you want to look at them, read them, and circle back?
What's your preference? I'm actually completely indifferent.
Okay, how about I want to sit with this discomfort around generosity, and I want to read it at the end.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So my card is Conscious Connections.
Oh, okay.
And this is my favorite deck. I got it. This deck is it's called Sacred Rebels Oracle by Alana Fairchild. You know how much I love this deck. I pull cards from this deck at least once a day.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You know how just certain decks speak to you? Like your deck speaks to you?
Yeah. I did this deck, by the way.
Yeah. So the Sacred Forest Oracle by Denise Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that image on yours.
I know.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I love it.
I've got some thoughts about what this Conscious Connections. I've actually been pulling this card so often.
Really?
Yeah. And it's um about teamwork. And so I'm not perfectly clear. I feel a little when I look at this card, I feel fuzzy. I feel
Okay.
like I don't know what you're trying to tell me here. So I'm going to put this down
Yeah.
and let's circle back to it.
Okay. Before you fully put it down, though, so you feel fuzzy, but do you feel anything in your body about it?
Yeah, I definitely feel energy. I feel energy in my solar plexus, which is where I've been feeling the most activated lately.
Mm.
And I've actually been feeling this energy in my solar plexus is I'm in a really what feels like a profound like death and rebirth right now in my hero's journey, which I actually don't think we've ever fully explored on the podcast, by the way. I'm not sure we've ever like talked about the hero's journey. But
Mm.
anyways, I'm in a death and rebirth. And whenever I'm in a death and rebirth, what I notice recently, like a theme for the last several years, is where I feel the energy is in my solar plexus. So when I think about this card, I feel energy in my solar plexus. I feel like there is a big theme of others, like other human beings
Mm.
in this this current vision I'm launching forward and this current hero's journey I'm on. And what I'm feeling in my solar plexus is a little bit of a clenching though, like of a holding on. And maybe I'm starting to make assumptions, but maybe that's around not fully trusting and letting go, like thinking I have to do it on my own.
Mm.
Yeah, so there's like a little bit of control that I feel when I got this card. There's also a little disappointment. I'm like, oh, could I not have gotten just like something lovelier, you know? So it's interesting. We're both getting cards that we're like kind of feeling constricted towards.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple days ago, I pulled the Rose Fairy, and I
Mm.
it was
Lovely
just like
card. Yeah.
the fairy of the roses, all about like love and magic and luxuriating and just like the most beautiful things. Yeah. I would have wanted a card like that too.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm. Something a little more gentle and something a little more um whimsical, you know?
Yeah. Okay, gentle. I keep going back to the word gentle today. Every time you asked me how I was feeling, I was like, gentle, just gentle. So, what does it mean that, you know, what does it mean that you are yearning for a gentle card? What is that yearning about?
I am really yearning to surrender today. I've been feeling this coming. A couple weeks ago, you held some space for me and had a coaching session for me. And um, you asked me, I think at the end of the session or after, I'm not sure when, but you asked me where I was in my current hero's journey. And I said, I said, I think I'm in trials and failures, but I really want to I want this to be death and rebirth. And but I could sense something looming in the distance where it was going to get like quote unquote worse, you know? Um, and I'm in it and I'm realizing some like big things that I've been gripping onto and trying to control. And this gentleness I'm seeking is just like letting go
Mm.
so that I can be like I can return to gentleness within myself. Yeah. What is it? What does gentleness mean to you right now?
Yeah, I was just journaling right before we hopped on. So after we were talking and before we hopped on, and I was asking myself, like, what does that even mean when I keep saying I'm gentle? I tried on different words like, am I tender? Maybe a little. It's not even the word. And I realized gentle means I don't have the energy to try. I don't have, it feels like I don't have strength in my muscles
Mm-hmm.
to like create. I don't have strength to try to force. So very much just like surrender. I
Mm-hmm.
can't, when I scan myself, I feel no energy to access, to flow through me, to do, to create, to force, to control. I have this feeling like, really, like my muscles feel like, no, there's nothing here. You know, when you try to open a jar and you're like, oh, I can't. It's happened to me a couple times lately with a tight jar. I don't even fully try. I'm like, I don't even have the energy to try my best to do it. And I just hand it over to Nate and I'm like, oh, do the jar. That's how I feel. I'm like, oh, I just can't do the jar. And I have the feeling that, like, if the world started falling down around me, I'd be like, "Oh, I can't do anything about it," which normally would scare me, but right now actually feels good. Like
Mm.
like, even if the world started falling down around me, I don't even feel like I would have the energy to try to catch the pieces, and that kinda feels nice.
Mm. You just described perfectly how I feel right now.
Mm.
Yeah, you just described perfectly how I feel. Like my muscles are empty. Like it even just to pour that tea in my cup that I just poured because it's a big tea. It's a very big pot. It's huge. It's like very big and it's very full. Um, that was hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my default my default is overdrive and I think what kind of like death and rebirth symbolizes to me right now is the transition to just like letting myself be um like really like gentle.
Yeah. Surrender is so interesting because I've named it a million times as something I yearn for. And I have lots of memories of that moment of surrender where I let something go that it's like, oh, it's the best in the entire world. And every single time I really find the place of surrender that I need, what's on the other side is such glorious freedom and alignment. And so why is it so hard still to access surrender in the new places? We need surrender.
Mhm.
What, like, for you right now, because I know you know the same thing. Surrender.
Yeah.
So what is it? What's the like resistance to all the surrender your heart really desires for you right now?
Like life gripping fear.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It's our minds are so interesting. You know, this morning when I was journaling and I was naming. I think I really needed to I think I even said this to you yesterday in a Voxer. I had so much to do yesterday. And a lot of stuff has been a lot of like things have been happening in my outside world that have just been like, whoa, bang, 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 like just kind of slapping me in the face. And I think yesterday in a Voxer exchange, you were saying, what do you need right now? Or you were just like inviting me into this gentleness, and I wasn't prepared for gentleness yesterday. And I think I said, well, actually, I just need to finish all my to-dos, and then I need to have a good cry and surrender. I need to schedule in my surrender. I need to schedule it in. It's not yet. I know it's looming because I feel it in my body. And yesterday I felt, actually the last couple days, I felt like completely disconnected from my body, like um, in such like, I don't know, doership mode, action mode, running around in circles. It's such urgency and fear that all I wanted to do yesterday was just like half of me wanted to just like, I just need to get all of this done, and the other half just wanted to shut down and just sleep, and like forever sleep, like the kind of sleep that it was the kind of exhausted that sleep doesn't fix, like. And I thought, okay, I just need to get these big things off my plate, because I've got despite all the things happening in my life right now, in my external world, that feel like some things are crumbling and some things are falling apart. And that's what it feels like. I have all these to-dos within, within the MRA, within my business, that I absolutely need to get done before I can give myself space to, to surrender.
I remember a time a long time ago when you were trying to do that too. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
like, however many years ago, your brother had a health scare,
Mm-hmm.
and your family are your
Yeah,
people. And it's like you were holding off. I remember you just holding off the impact that you were waiting for it to have on you. Instead of, like, it was like, okay, you almost went into extra overdrive work mode for a bit,
I did.
planning for your breakdown.
Yeah. What a what a I have tears in my eyes thinking of like that response.
Mm,
Yeah, I go into complete overdrive preparing when life feels chaotic and
yeah.
out of control. It's a desperate attempt to control what I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of that?
Oof. The pros, and this is very much my guard speaking. This is like my guard's MO. The pros are preparation. Like, get everything in order that you can possibly get in order, so that absolute catastrophe doesn't happen. So when I feel threatened, when I think about that situation with my brother had like a massive stroke, and he had a brain aneurysm, like out of nowhere, and had a massive stroke, and was sent to the hospitals right at the beginning of COVID. So we didn't know where he was. We didn't know what hospital he was at. We didn't have any information. We didn't even know how to get information. It was so scary. And then he was in the hospital for weeks, and we weren't even allowed to be with him or visit him. And that was at a time when I was also at a very early stage of business. And um, I felt like if something were to happen to my brother, like, I literally can't function as a human. And so, and if I can't function as a human, the the students, because the MRA was super young at that point, we didn't have a big faculty team. We didn't have, right, we didn't have the structures we have in place today. And so it felt like I have to prepare for this catastrophe. I can't even feel my emotions right now, because if I feel my emotions, I will I will I think there's a hole so dark that I'm not sure I can come out of that, and then if I can't come out of that, I can't continue to operate a business, and if I can't continue to operate a business, that has massive impacts on the people who've paid money to be here, the members of our team, my family, who at that time I was the primary, earner for. It was like life or death. It felt like literally life or death.
Yeah.
So what that does is I'm an extraordinary preparer, like A to Z. I'm like, the more I can prepare, the more control I feel. That's the pros. The cons, oh my gosh. The cons are like precious things. The cons are like a complete disconnect from my body and myself. And that has a hefty price. Like you feel the way that manifests in your body, you feel that. Um, you're operating in a place of survival mode, you know? And so I'm no longer present for anything fully. Yeah, the costs are high of operating that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's happening right now for you? Where are you in relation to that dynamic?
Right now, I'm feeling the very, very tender, emotional, just like, when you just surrender something and you're like still like literally laying something on the altar of like, this is too big for me.
Mm.
I'm not, I don't want to carry all this anymore. I can't control these things. So I feel like I have been walking around, and this was my realization this morning. I feel like really my guard, Brienne of Tarth, has been just large and in charge lately. And I don't even know I fully realized how activated she's been. I think I've been in such a busy season of life. When I get in very busy seasons of life, work wise, um, she just creeps right up there, like to the driver's seat. And she's like, everyone else, back you go. I got this. And she just works and goes and delivers and executes. And so I've been in that since so for the last I would say 3 straight months. I've been in this really busy season of work. And so it's just like this been this mounting, I think mounting internal pressure like a pressure cooker. So this mounting pressure every day, Brienne of Tarth is taking the wheel and like gripping it harder and harder and harder and harder. And then this week, so there's been that mounting pressure. And then this week, a number of things have happened in my world where things feel like they're falling apart a little bit. Things that I want to control, things I want to like I want to carry, and I'm like carrying all this on my shoulders because I want the people I love to be okay. I want the I just want to I want to carry it all on my shoulders. And so yesterday when you were asking what do I need, I was still in that like I just need to finish my to-do list so I can schedule in a breakdown. I'll schedule all my breakdown in. Like look at my calendar and I'll say, okay, I've got a chunk of time here, and I'll just like block off my calendar for the breakdown. It's like literally the way my brain was thinking yesterday. And then this morning, I still have an enormous to-do list, by the way. But this morning, I just sat down with myself in my journal And I think the first words I wrote in my journal was, what do you feel? What do I feel? And I I felt
Mm.
uh, in the last couple of days, I just was so disconnected from my body. I couldn't feel anything. I was just tired, and was just able to really name all of the things in my life right now that feel out of control,
Mm.
and the things that I feel like I've been trying to carry and control. And I could literally picture Brienne of Tarth like just like trying to literally carry all the stuff on her shoulders, and getting to the heart of like getting almost like seeing the thread weave through all of these experiences that I was having in my life that actually didn't seem related at all. But when I named them all and allowed myself to kind of feel down to the root of what I was feeling for all of these things, every single one of them pointed to the exact same thing. And that was a fear of loss. And as like a true Enneagram 9, like that is like my a core fear is this fear of disconnection, a fear of loss. And so that was that like putting my finger on that and recognizing that all of these things happening are pointing to this fear of loss. Something about that started to like ease the weight.
Mm.
Also, seeing life through the lens of a hero's journey and recognizing, ooh, it wasn't so long ago that I launched this massive vision out into the universe for this like next iteration of my life and what I wanted to feel. And we know that in order to walk the path to get from where you are today to where you want to be in your vision, everything unlike that vision will surface and come up to be healed in your experience. And so framing it that way and like recognizing that, wow, what's popping into my experience right now is showing me where I am gripping for control for like literally what feels like for like fear of losing everything and everyone I love. Like that's where it goes. I go so dark and so deep. It feels so you can it's what it feels like when you get to the root of that.
Yeah.
And if I want to step into this, so much of my vision, this next iteration of my vision is about like ease and presence and spaciousness and abundance and prosperity. Like, can prosperity and abundance coexist with ease? And like so much of my vision is wrapped up in those themes, and what's coming up to be healed right now, what's coming up to be looked at is where I'm gripping for dear life.
Mm.
Yeah, where ease is just the farthest thing I'm experiencing today.
Yeah. I think I asked you a few days ago. I forget which question I asked you and which question you're already asking yourself, but this theme of um if you know that, wow, if when you notice I'm gripping right here and you have the realization, oh, this is like not the place to grip. This is not the thing I can control. I need to release. What then becomes your anchor? What then
Mhm.
if your safety can no longer come from controlling this thing and you have to let it go, then where is the safety?
Yeah. Yeah. Safety and security. There's such a feeling of safety and security when I'm gripping and in control. And the things I want most, like ease and presence with those I love, cannot exist when Brienne of Tarth is at the wheel gripping for dear life. Like that, they can't exist. They can't exist. They cannot coexist. So I have to sink into a new like paradigm. If one paradigm is, it's interesting, and I was reflecting on this this morning when I was journaling, was I know that with Brienne of Tarth at the wheel, because she is so powerful and she is such a hard worker, she believes if she can just like grit through, she could take us. She could get us to the vision. She could get us to, the kind of prosperity and abundance that would one day bring ease and presence with my loved ones and connection. Like she could do that. I know she could do that. But the cost in her getting us there is so high because time is passing and I'm missing the moments right now. I'm missing the time right now. I'm missing ease right now. I'm missing presence right now. And who knows what the long-term costs of that could be. So that old paradigm, whatever that is that does not belong in my vision. That's not how I want to operate in this next vision for my life. So I have to think of a new paradigm. And that new paradigm is going to feel really unnatural. And some days it might feel like a deep surrender, like I'm surrendering to this new paradigm and it feels terrifying. So I don't know where I'm landing with this, Michelle. I think I'm still trying to grasp what the new paradigm is because it feels like I feel like, yeah, I feel like I haven't quite put my finger on what I want this new paradigm to be.
Mm. Mm. It feels like your new paradigm is so close, especially today, especially right now. The new paradigm exists like a breath away after you really fully surrender. It's like
It's
right
right
there.
there.
It's right
Isn't it
there.
always right there?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always right there, and it's just um it still has to come into full focus for you.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's so delicate. Um, right now, that if I didn't commit to spending time in this like really gentle, vulnerable, soft place of I feel like I'm floating in like no man's land right now. I feel like I'm floating with no anchor.
Yeah.
If I didn't allow myself to just like, if I could easily revert back to, and I actually am catching myself doing that because there's safety in the old paradigm. And that can feel really good in the moment. There's safety in holding on to the old paradigm.
Mm.
There is a sense of discomfort in floating in the space between. But beneath the discomfort, there's also a sense of release and a bigger breath
Mm.
and a little bit of like that feeling that you were describing earlier of, well, if it's all gonna fucking go up in flames, like, okay, like exhausted surrender, like not forced surrender, but kind of like not inspired surrender,
Mm.
exhausted surrender, which still feels good.
Yeah. It does feel good. Hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think? What what do you need to stay here in this floaty place and not be pulled back into the old comforts of control? the old paradigm.
Just, I think I need to give myself permission for more gentleness. Like, I think it comes back to the word gentle. Like, oh, what does my body want right now? Like, if my one job right now is just to take care of myself, like my body feels really stiff, almost like I can feel the, when you're stressed, when you've been carrying a lot of stress in your body, like lactic acid builds up. I can feel, so it's like my muscles have released, but I can still feel like that lactic acid. I can feel like in my
Mm.
flowing through me. I want to take a hot shower. I want to do some like really gentle yoga movements to know instructor, just like asking myself, what does my body want, with some like beautiful music. And I want to I want to like lie on the couch and read a novel, like not a self-help book, but like a novel that I can get lost in. I want to take a nap. I want to drink hot tea. I just want to sit here for a bit, and I want to I want to lay my to-do list down. Like lay it down. I want to lay it down.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. It's funny. You're describing so much of what you're saying. I am relating to. I feel like I'm in a similar place. However, I don't actually think I'm in a death and rebirth in the same way. So I've been trying to sort out, like, why are we in the same place? But I don't know if I'm in a death and rebirth. What's it about? I don't know. I don't know that that's where I am. What just came to me is what you're describing that you want for right now, in as to, like, the energy of the cocoon for the old paradigm to be released and for you to shift into the new one. What you're describing that you want in this period, that's what I want my entire life to be. Like,
Mm.
I don't want that to just be a phase. I think I know how to give myself that as a phase, but I always feel like, yeah, well, yeah, now I have to come back out of it for a bit. And I've been in the process, I think, of trying to create bigger and bigger bubbles where I can live in a place where I say, what does my body want? A shower? Okay. Outside? Okay. Sleep? Okay. And I don't really love coming out, but I'm like, okay, well, at least now I'm in the place where even if I don't want to come out, the things that I have to do, I like, they're kind of up my alley. But I want, the truth is, I want to keep going. I want to slowly shift my entire life that way. I really do. I want to get to live where every day I just get to live in that floaty, surrendered, in the moment space. And doesn't mean I'll never do anything, but I want to only do things when I check in with my body and my body says, I want to do this. And then I want to do the thing. That's it. That's what I want it to be forever.
Yeah. I'm listening to you. I'm like, "M- maybe that's what we all really want." Like, maybe that's actually the way we're actually supposed to live.
Yeah.
And we've just got all sorts of human constructs, and we've got it all wrong, you know?
I do know. I I I I have no idea. Maybe we're all built different ways, so like I don't know about everybody, but I think that the threshold that I'm stepping over, I still don't know where I am on this hero's journey, but I'm stepping over some sort of threshold where I'm putting all my money down on that. Like I feel like I'm shifting into knowing I love it. Like I'm going from knowing I love this and I want more of it to kind of going all in on saying, I know this sounds ludicrous. I can hear the voices floating around being like, yeah, but it's not realistic cuz, and I feel like I'm ready to leave those voices behind and be like, cool, maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but I just want to keep going. I want to keep going all the way down and I don't want to stop. Don't want to stop. I want to keep releasing anything that makes me feel like it takes priority over the wisdom of my body in the moment. Nothing feels better than that kind of freedom.
Oh, that is freedom. That is
Yeah.
like, that is the, when I talk in my journal about freedom, I am free. That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to you. And what's like interesting that's happening in my mind is I can actually hear my guard negotiating with me. Like I can have pockets of that like right now,
Mm-hmm.
but that can't be forever. That can't be the way we always live because that is absolutely terrifying. Like how does life even how do you function? But I think that is actually perhaps the way we're all meant to live. And the way our society has been set up and constructed has been set up by a bunch of guards who don't think that that is the way or that's possible. And what's scary for me is how do I live like that and still live in this and operate in this like this society? And I know for you, you've moved your life. You've been on this journey of moving your life outside of societal norms for quite some time now. So you're like your journey is you're like you're over here and I'm like still in it, gripping. You said something earlier about I want to. Oh, I should have written down what you said, but I want to like release anything that is not in alignment with the wisdom of my body. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I was like, I don't want anything to compete or take precedence over the wisdom of my body in that moment.
Mhm.
Like, if my body's saying one thing, I don't want to feel like there are other things that take priority over that. I don't want to make that compromise anymore. Like, I don't want to go, okay, body, yeah, most of the time I'll honor you, but like there's some things that I got to just quiet you down for a sec. I don't want that anymore.
Things What are some things that are coming up for you to, I don't know, um, look at, be released? Yeah, what are some of the themes coming up for you right now?
One is, okay, there's always something a little bit around time. This is like a bigger one. Just, I don't like to live on a clock. I really, really, really don't like to live on a clock. I feel like, and I do have a little flexibility around this. It's like my evenings, as soon as I released any work in the evenings, that gave me a lot of flexibility, right? So in the winter, when it gets dark, I'm ready to get into bed at 6 p.m. And what's normal in the summer, or what a normal work day is in the summer, it's not true for me in the winter. So just like the standard way of like the way a week works doesn't feel good. I need to, when it's dark, my body gets tired. It starts getting dark at like 4. I start to feel
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
oh, and then I'm like, let's get some warm food in our bellies and let's get in bed.
Yeah.
And I want to lean into that even more. Like last night, I think we got into bed at like 6, about 6. And I was like, oh, this is so nice. But I want to really in truth, I think maybe like as soon as it's dark, why am I out of bed? It's dark out. I need to be in bed, not going anywhere in the dark. My body's getting tired. I just want to, I want to be, but people think that's funny. You want to be in bed at 4:30? It's like the kids only get off school but I want to just release the idea of the clock and like time. And I want to surrender more into it's dark and I want to be in bed. So I want to go there more. Listen to that part of my body. I need to start releasing holding space for other people. And that doesn't mean I stop holding space for other people, but I don't think I realized how much I've been holding space for other people inside of myself. I'm holding space for other people, even when I'm not holding space for other people. I notice like that's the energy that's flowing in me. So sometimes even when a person isn't in front of me, like there's no person in front of me, there's no group in front of me, sometimes the dynamic that's happening inside of me is still somehow holding space for somebody else's wants, needs, thoughts, fears, triggers. Like that's where my energy or my thoughts are being directed into, okay, what do other people need? And I think that's a big piece of the fatigue is like there's lots of those I want to be able to look at the things that are coming up around me from people, the world. And when it makes me feel tired, I want to go, oh no, I don't want to hold that. I'm too tired. No, it's yours. And I want to come back into the question of what does my body want? And I've been shifting that. The first couple lines of my focus statement, I know I've told you, I turn toward myself with devotion. I hear and honor the whispers of my body. I soften in the trust that it is she who knows the way. And it feels so good. And I yearn to bring it to more and more places. So yeah, so that looks like shifting the holding space for others to no, I'm holding space for me and my body. That's what I'm doing with the same reverence that if someone was paying me to hold space for them, I'm turning toward myself with the same reverence and intention and fullness. And I give it to myself. Okay, I'm getting more clarity as I'm verbally processing this, which feels so good. Here's what I want. I want the freedom I want to know and feel the freedom that whenever my body says something different than someone or the world wants, I have no problem letting somebody else down instead of letting my body down and myself down. Like those messages from my body, my heart, my stomach, my body, the paradigm has been shh, or I don't even hear you anymore. And slowly that's been changing. I'm doing the best I've ever done. I've been declaring and claiming the things I want, my body wants. I feel like I'm doing such a good job. And I need to make it like the ultimate version of that. I feel like I can't stop. This journey doesn't end until my body comes out on top every single time, regardless of the consequences, regardless of who I let down, regardless of who's hurt, offended, sad. There can't be any exceptions. None. If there's ever one tiny little exception, then I'm not in full devotion to myself. And if I'm not in full devotion to myself, who or what am I in devotion to? That feels like compromise. And if we only have, I don't know if we have one life or multiple lives, but it's my only life as this person. You know, This is my only life as this version of me. And I think, regardless of what I do, if I die and I feel like I've been devoted to myself, that will mean something. There's lots of passing things and interests and people that I've had like a lot of allegiance or care or love or devotion to. And it's really interesting to see that the importance I've placed on them has like gone up and down and whoa, disappeared and some stays there, but ultimately I'm the only constant. I want to be so worthy of my own love and devotion that there's never anything or anyone that comes between me and the honoring of myself and my body. Yeah.
Look at how you worked through that one.
That was great. Thank you. I appreciate this a lot.
You've put your finger on the new paradigm. Like you've put your finger on the old paradigm, and now you've claimed and put your finger on the new paradigm.
Yeah.
That feels good.
It feels really good. Ah. Yeah. Naming it helps me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like I don't even know which way to look. It's like
Totally.
I feel lost and I don't even know which way to look to find my bearings. I don't know what I'm trying to look for to find my bearings. And putting my finger on this reminds me, oh, right. My navigation system is, which I have already written, but it's funny how you can lose sight of it. I turn toward myself with devotion. I hear and honor the whispers of my body. I soften in the trust that it is she who knows the way. And there is never an exception. It's so grounding.
I feel like I saw you just take a concept that you had crafted and created, and there's something about, okay, there's this thing I yearn for, there's this way of being that I yearn for, but there's something really powerful about the creation of that, and then the integration, like the what is that actually, like the sinking into that. I feel like that's what you just did.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. It's true. It did start as a little inspired idea. Had a glimpse of clarity in my journals, glimpses of clarity, but it's different than. It's different
This is
than.
what this means.
Yeah.
And this is, like, I think the power of naming paradigm shifts and being able to really, really, really put your finger on and name an old paradigm and then what's the new paradigm. Because that new paradigm, it's like you're shining a spotlight on it. This is the old, so that no longer becomes, it no longer becomes the subconscious way of being. Like you've shined the spotlight on it, you've brought it to the light, you've brought it to your seat of awareness, and you also know what you're replacing it with.
Yeah.
So that when situations come up where you are, your neural pathways might get all fired up to go to the old paradigm, you have something to grab onto
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
build the new neural pathways for the new paradigm.
Yeah. And now my question though is my brain's going to like, do I know this because I've already been tested and I've come out on the other side? Or am I about to get tested? Oh.
Like, are you about to go like through your death and rebirth? Like, was
Yeah.
this your death and rebirth?
Oh no.
Um,
Oh no. I
mhm.
I can see many, many, many little tests and learnings along the way that brought up so much fear. And I had to lean in this direction. And even, this week
Mhm.
coming up again in different flavors. Um, I'm always strengthening this muscle in my relationship because I just adore my relationship. Like, yes, I adore my partner and I adore my relationship and I value it so much. Um, and so in like little ways, I always have to strengthen this muscle because really I just I don't that would be horrible to lose, you know? I wouldn't want
Mhm.
that to end or lose it. So when I have to say, no, this is how I feel, it's like every time I do that, every time I push back or say, like, no, this is what I want, this is how I feel, I'm doing this, this is what I strengthen it a little bit. And it's that's been so helpful to strengthen it where although I always come first, I would lose something precious, if I let that person down. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think I'm about to have more tests or do you think I've been like going through a slow burn death and rebirth?
Yeah, I think okay, I have two thoughts. I think you might have been going through a slow burn, death and rebirth. I also have some thoughts about that. About the like, do death and rebirths always have to be catastrophic?
Mm.
I have some thoughts about that. But something you just said is taking my brain down a different path. And I wonder if something is truly yours or for you, do you think it could ever truly be lost by like being our the most authentic version of ourselves in relationship to that?
Mm. Yeah, no. No, what's for you, you can't lose what's for you by being more true to yourself.
Yeah. And that I think that's true for people. I think being true to yourself, you are going to lose people. But those would be the people who like aren't for you.
Mhm.
The people that are for you, could that ever be really lost?
Yeah.
Same thing with opportunities or experiences or, you know, like the things that like, other things too. I think that's true for other things too.
Mhm. Yeah. Jobs, opportunities,
Yeah.
uh, certain kinds of status or success, or the way people perceive you in the world, or everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. The luck that's meant to make its way to you, the magic that's meant to,
Mhm.
everyone has different kinds of
Mhm.
magic and luck and opportunities. And yeah, I believe that.
Okay, this thought now about uh different intensities of death and rebirth.
Hmm.
So I have this feeling that, so again, if we think about what the context of death and rebirth is, the that universal principle, the law of opposite that states that when you commit to your next level of greatness, when you commit to that next vision for your life, everything unlike it will come up to be healed on your journey towards it.
Mm.
And I think that, so when we're taught, for those of you who don't know, like the hero's journey model, it's a model that was developed by Joseph Campbell, and you can look it up and look at the different stages of the hero's journey. And what we've found is, and what we teach in the coach training is, what we found is that this can also be like a really powerful framework to view personal growth from. 'Cause you tend to follow these exact stages when you're in a growth spurt. But I think that that death and rebirth, like the pinnacle of like when all the things are coming up and you lay it on the altar and you surrender, and like that's like what happens right before you step into that next vision for your life or that next way of being. I think the intensity of that I don't think it has to be so intense. I think that the intensity of it is equal to our level of gripping and control around the old paradigm.
Mm.
And for me, for many of my big heroes journeys, for many of my big growth spurts, frig do I grip. Like, man, can I grip. I can grip. I grip for the like it's my life is on the line. Not just my life. I grip like everyone I love's life is on the line. That's how hard I grip.
Yeah.
And so my hero's journeys, my death and rebirths tend to be really dramatic. Like really there's like a lot of upheaval.
Yeah.
But I don't think it has to be that way.
Mm.
So the reason I don't think, and I do have a model for how I think it could look, which for me is important. I like to have like models for how are other people doing this thing called, life. So, the surrender experiment.
Mm.
Um, why is his name escaping me? What is his name, Michelle?
Michael. Is it Michael's?
Michael something, Michael Singer, Michael
Yeah.
Singer.
Yeah.
Okay. So he wrote this book called The Surrender Experiment. He also wrote the book, um, geez, his other book is actually
The
more popular.
The Untethered
The
Soul.
Untethered Soul. Yes. So which was probably his more popular book, but The Surrender Experiment is one of my favorite books of all time. It was
Yeah.
like really a life-changing book for me. And the crux of it is, when I read his story of surrender, I think that he tells the story over, I don't know, it's over decades. And
Yeah.
he tells the story of his life of just being in pure surrender to the flow of life. And he went from up to losing absolutely everything to and he just talks about his commitment to full surrender in whatever was coming. And so that's a different, like when I look at his story, I think that is mastery
Mm.
of
Surrender.
const mastery of surrender, so that it doesn't necessarily have to be these gripping, like, massive deaths and rebirths. It's like just the constant slow burn of the death and rebirth,
Mm-hmm.
but you're you're surrendering to the bad as well as the good. It's like complete and utter surrender to all of it.
Yeah.
That is a true level of internal mastery.
Mm. Yeah, it really is. I find that both inspiring and something I want to lean towards. And what's interesting is I find the idea of it scares me more than the reality of it. So when I think about, I don't know how much he talks about impermanence, but I think a little bit. And when I hear like Buddhist philosophy of, everything is impermanent and
Mhm.
suffering is simply trying to,
Grasp it.
yeah,
Yeah. Hold
grasp
on to
and
it.
yeah, hold on to things you know, and how basically good things come when you don't try to hold on to whatever it is. Like have no release your attachments, let it all go. I find that the idea of it really, really scary because what the idea of it makes me think is like, for some reason, it always makes me think about losing my children. I don't
Mhm.
know why, but it makes me think of like,
Mhm. Losing the most precious, whatever is most precious to you.
yeah. And so I think it's hard to fully get behind the idea because I don't know why I know they're not talking. I know it's like a much greater concept, but my mind always goes to like, no, I couldn't be okay with losing my children. That's where I go. However, the reality of accepting whatever pain I'm experiencing in the moment, no matter how big or no matter how small, the reality of what it actually feels like to have things come and go and feel whatever I'm feeling, even if it's pain, that actually feels really, really good to me. So I find the idea scary, and I find the practice feels like the deepest relief. And I really I think I'm yearning for that feeling of relief more and more. Like to let go, to surrender. In my body says, "Yes. Thank God you're letting go." Um and so I I wonder, I'm getting the sense that maybe there's room for me to, I don't know, anchor into that even more as a overall worldview instead of just in certain moments yeah, because it feels
Mm-hmm.
so good.
Mm-hmm. Constant, consistent surrendering to what is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is there anything else coming up for you?
I just had this moment where I was checking in on how do I feel now with all of this clarity. And I feel the clarity, which gives me a sense of peace, a good, like a little bit of safety in my body, a little bit of calmness in my body. And I still feel something a little like I'm imagining a picture of me in a boat on the ocean, kind of like rocking around. And I know now I know how I'm navigating. So it's like, okay, I know how I'm going to navigate. But this sense of like rocking, creating this like subtle instability, it's still like kind of scary. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's even with clarity and knowing my navigation system and knowing that it feels good and right to me and deciding to trust that and feeling so good about the choice to trust that, this like uncertainty of floating in the world, it's like it's still kind of scary. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this no, and I think to myself, well, no wonder I have all these moments where I forget my clarity and I go back into some kind of coping mechanism or trying to control, or I end up lost in a scrolling hole, uh, trying to numb my fear, or I've like, no wonder, no wonder there's like constant fear under the surface for me, even when I'm most clear and most aligned. And I can only feel the subtle fear constantly under there when I like really carefully listen. But it's probably always, 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 always there. Constant fear.
Just looming, waiting,
Just
creeping around the corner.
this constant fear coming from the knowing that like the world could end in any way, shape, or form, and I could do my best to try to hold it together, but I could just fail. Just like uncertainty. Uncertainty, knowing that things are going to change, knowing that forces will flow in and flow out, and that my control really is limited. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's equal amounts relief and freedom and equal amounts fear. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel you. Mm.
If you check in right now with how you feel,
Mhm.
how do you feel?
Very similarly. Very similarly. I think we're in a very similar, different storylines,
Yeah.
different places of, different lenses, different places of orientation because we're different humans. But geez, is the overarching experience of shifting paradigms of just like this work is the overarching experience ever similar and
Mhm.
perhaps even universal. I don't know. Maybe we're just two people, but I have this, when I check in with myself, I just have this desire to surrender even more, just to let go even more. And something tells me that, like, I have a desire to surrender and let go to a level that I have never experienced before. I think over the last, like, I think there's like iterations of surrender, and the version of me surrendering today is like, I wouldn't even, would be unrecognizable than the version of me 4 years ago. Like, the needle is moving, but I just have this desire that is in so much in alignment with where I want to go, which is this level of freedom and ease that I want to feel every single day in my body. And I think that that is going to require a level of surrender I have never experienced before. Yeah.
What's the glimpse of this new kind of surrender? Like, can you name what it looks like, or what's can you identify anything about it?
Well, just even as I close my eyes and take a big breath, that, like, you remember I was telling you earlier, my solar plexus was really activated and tight.
Yeah.
Just as I took that big breath, my belly just like released,
Mm.
almost like I've been sucking in this whole time and like clenching this whole time. And like my belly just like let go, just like, oh God, that felt good. First of all, who the hell am I sucking in for? I don't know. Like, no one's in this room. You can't even see my belly. I don't know what I was holding on to there.
Mm.
Um, I can feel my shoulders dropping. I can feel my belly unclenching. There's almost this sense of feeling that I can't even, I feel like I can't name, I can't put words to, I can't even put imagery to. There's this feeling of just go be it. Just go walk through the world today or in this next moment and just be it. Like, go experience what that feels like. Stop trying to imagine it. Stop trying to intellectualize it, conceptualize it. Just go be it.
Mm.
What does it feel like to walk through the world with your belly unclenched and your shoulders down
Yeah.
and your palms open and like your breath deep and in that state of like real presence and real freedom? Because we talk about arriving despite current circumstances. Like, this is just this is
Yeah.
just how I want to feel. And I've put all sorts of like parameters around, well, when I have this or when life looks like this, then I will be safe enough to feel this way.
Mhm.
But in this moment, what's becoming very clear to me is that nope. And of course, I know this, like, intellectually, this is like what we teach. We just like obviously know this, but it's so different. It's like knowing something and landing in something, and integrating something is a very different experience. And so arriving despite current circumstances mean finding ease, finding freedom, finding surrender, even right now, when right now my life looks pretty chaotic from the outside. There's lots of stuff happening right now
Mm.
in my world. Can I embody that today despite? Like, I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Um, I just realized something else clicked in for me. I added a new line to my focus statement not too long ago because I was realizing that I remember last time I was making big shifts in a hero's journey. I remember coming back, like after the death and rebirth and radical atonement and like coming back as the next best version of me, I saw life through these like these like bright open eyes. And I was like, wow, yes. Oh, and for a while, I was just excited to wake up and go out in the world every day. It felt like every day had something new and shiny to offer me. It was like, oh, I love who I'm being. And then it just felt like the world was like, yes, I am an interesting place. And there's there's happiness and excitement and unexpected things for you. And at a certain point, as I guess that my new life became normal and I started realizing, oh, there's more things that I want, more ways I want to grow. I think I slowly slipped back into not being excited to wake up in the morning in the same way. I wasn't like excited for tomorrow. It'd be like, oh, tomorrow. Or I know a sign for me is when I go, okay, I got to get through this day, this day, this day, this day. And then, oh, this day will bring me relief. That's a sign for me. I don't want to live that way. I don't like it. And I kind of went back there and I was like, oh, I had tasted the difference. I knew what it was like to not live that way. And I decided I wanted it back. And so I wrote this new line. Um, every day I wake up to a world that sparkles with magic. Because that's the feeling. Like, of course I want to wake up. If every day I wake up to a world that sparkles with magic, it means like, oh, there's so much here for me. And I'm connecting the dots between every day I wake up to a world that sparkles with magic, what you're talking about, who you're saying you want to be today, despite current circumstances, despite all of the things going on, that if that's how I have to meet the universe. If I want to wake up every day to a world that sparkles with magic, then I have to show up every day being open, truly open and surrendered. Because the magic can't come if you're trying to
Mhm.
grip and control. So
Mm.
being that surrender is it absolutely very directly equals my world that sparkles with magic. So okay.
I love that. I really like that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, same. Your plan, same plan. Okay. And then even, and then I even have to account for the grace I'm going to give myself as I have failures and then gently come back.
Mm. Okay, so is your card making more sense to you now? Or what does your card mean to you now?
Okay. I don't know. Can I read the description?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so yeah, Maple Spirit, generosity. The first thing that's coming to me before I read the description is it's funny how instantly I heard this as generosity to others, you know?
Yeah.
That's like I was like, "Oh, no." And now I'm wondering and I'm hoping, not that I need the book to confirm it for me, but like I hope it does. But I'm wondering if perhaps is there a generosity that I can pour, like I can be generous with myself in this way, this generosity of giving maybe even more than a part of me felt like it deserved. Like that kind of generosity.
Mhm.
That's what I'm that's
Mhm.
what I'm hoping for.
So, do you even want to read the book?
Yeah, because I want to be okay. I want to be here. I like to test myself sometimes. It's like this is going to affect me, but
Mhm.
can I still trust myself even more even if I
Even if the book is saying something different.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What you give out comes back to you tenfold. There are times in life to receive, and there are times to provide love, services, and items to other. This card suggests that this is a time to give with your whole heart. Okay.
Okay, keep reading.
Give without thinking of what you will gain in return. By doing this, you enter the flow of the universe and blessings will shower upon you. Maples are thought to be very old species of trees. They are known to withstand environmental changes and can survive and thrive in various climates. Some traditions believe that the maple lends strength and power to those around it. If you tap into the maple, you will find a sweet sap, which symbolically brings sweetness into your life. The spirit of the maple says, be open to receive the bounty of the universe. At the same time, be generous with others and with yourself. A warmth of spirit radiates from you. Share from your heart and receive with an open heart, and success will blossom. So, this softens me. I
Mhm.
feel like this card makes a lot of room for me to receive and makes room for me to be soft. And I love the be open to receive the bounty of the universe.
Mhm.
I also really like a warmth of spirit radiates from you. Share from your heart and receive with an open heart, and success will blossom. And what that makes me connect to is I really like the feeling that there are ways to give that don't make me feel depleted.
Mhm.
And it just makes me think of this conversation. Like, this felt so lovely. I receive so much from this conversation. I feel like I got more out of this conversation than anyone else would get. But it leaves me also with the question of like, oh, what if me sharing what's true from my open heart, like, what if that is giving? What if that's enough? And what if that is just enough? What if I can believe that I've given enough where now it's time that I can just receive and be generous with myself? And yeah, and my initial interpretation still stands. I get to be so generous with myself. And I think it's like a cycle, right? It's like give and you receive. But I also think it's you give to yourself and then a natural overflow happens in one way or another. And I do believe that if I'm in a season where I am giving to myself, giving myself just like showering myself with this devotion that I yearn for, I do trust that in one way or another, that's the best chance I have at true goodness spilling out of me. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know in what form, but I think that's like, I think nourishing myself and being so devoted to myself is actually the only shot I have at true giving that isn't coming from an inauthentic place where I'm trying to prove my worth or earn my worth. I don't want to do that anymore. So this is
Mhm.
the only way to give anything in a way that's actually true.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to your card. Conscious connection?
Okay, conscious connections. So again, I've been pulling this card and not like fully resonating or understanding where the message was for me in this card. So I'll read it. Okay, there is a call for more intimacy in your immediate relationships. There is an opening for heart to heart communication that can salvage and restore a broken relationship or friendship if you are willing to honor your differences and look to what unites you. Sometimes it is hard to bear the differences between one another. One person may be willing to live a life in high definition, whilst I always get messed up on that word, whilst another may prefer to live it more vicariously until they have the confidence to step onto the center stage of their own life story. We are not here to judge each other, just to love, to be loved, and to let go of those that cannot accept us as we open up to those who can. This oracle brings guidance for you to trust in the sanctity of the connections in your life. Okay, I do know what this is talking about. Okay. Um, yeah. If you have asked to experience a more sacred connection with people who truly get you and want to play life with you rather than at odds with you or against you, then this oracle is confirmation that this manifestation is on its way to you now. It may or may not be obvious at first, but kindred spirits are going to enter your life to help you connect with your deeper feelings and creativity. They will give wings to your inspirational ideas and big dreams. If you have been asking for healing in your current friendships or in other immediate relationships, know that this can happen through your willingness to express your true feelings and allow the situation to either fall apart or come together according to the greater workings of life. Sometimes webs that have joined people together are broken, and that is appropriate as people may outgrow what once held them together. Sometimes the ties that bind us together are so strong that they are able to withstand a great deal of pressure and still remain intact. The webs of connection between us will sever or sustain based on the higher wisdom of life itself. Either way, healing happens in the resolution of our feelings, and we are once again able to feel free, forgive, and be ready to move on to the next stage of relating, either with a person who has been in connection with us for a time or with someone new. This oracle asks you to remain open to healing connections and to allow people to be close to you. Trust in the process that draws people in and out of your life. Resist nothing and seek wisdom in all. All right. That card speaks very directly. Yes.
Is there anything that feels good to share about what that's
Mm,
saying to you?
mm. That's a good question. Part of what I'm surrendering is holding relationships that I hold dear, like that holding, that gripping, that controlling I was talking about earlier. One of the major themes in my life right now is being able to surrender even that. And that doesn't mean letting relationships go. It means, can I trust in, like, if I am truly in a place of surrender and I can relax into this, if I can unclench my belly, if I can open up my arms, if I can be this version of myself that I want to be, even in challenging situations or challenging relationships, without trying to protect, defend, or put something back together, or keep something from breaking that feels fragile. You know, if it's truly mine, I can never really lose it, you know? So there's this the part of the gripping I've been doing is gripping onto my relationships to people or things that it's like I just need to open up my palms and release
Mm.
and trust that if it's truly mine, I will never lose it. And also be okay if I do lose it for a time, you know?
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what that means.
How do you feel about going into the rest of your day?
I feel good. I feel gentle.
Hmm.
You?
Yeah, I feel gentle too. Yeah, I feel gentle. I feel actually very similar to how I felt. The same energy, the same feeling, the same essence is here when we started. I just am maybe a little more, I understand more what the feeling is. I'm accepting of the feeling. But it's like the hints of it were here this morning.
Mhm.
This gentleness, this I don't have the energy to force, and it's like we just took a long luxurious stroll around this park and we're like, yeah. And we're
Mhm.
just we're
Mhm.
kind of back at the same place, you know, but the walk was so beautiful and
Mhm.
head clearing and heart clearing and um We're still in gentleness. We're still in surrender.
Yeah. And I'm feeling a little more landed in surrender.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. If it serves you, take a moment to contemplate what your golden nugget is from this exploration. And if you feel inspired, please feel free to share it with us in the comments of this episode on our YouTube channel. To learn more about the MRA and our renowned flagship Mind Rebel Coach Training Series that begins once a year in the spring, please visit our website at www.themindrebel.com.